My parents told my fiancée I was impotent to sabotage our wedding. Now they are homeless. I'm still reeling from the events of the past few months, and honestly, I don't even know where to begin. My head is a mess, and I just need to get this all out there, get some perspective, because I feel like I'm living in some twisted reality show. I'm a 32-year-old male, and my fiancée, Sarah, is 30. We've been together for 5 wonderful years, and engaged for 1. Our wedding was planned for 2 months from now, a beautiful outdoor ceremony at a vineyard we both loved. Or, it was planned. Now, everything is in chaos, and my relationship with my parents is irrevocably shattered. My parents, bless their hearts, have always been difficult. They've never been overtly malicious, not in a way that most people would recognize. It was always more subtle, a constant undercurrent of manipulation and control disguised as concern or advice. They're very image-conscious, obsessed with how things appear to others. For them, life is a performance, and their children are extensions of their perfect facade. I'm the eldest, and my younger sister, Emily, is 28. Emily has always been the golden child, effortlessly beautiful, academically brilliant, and socially charming. I, on the other hand, was always a bit more introverted, more focused on my career in software development, and frankly, less interested in playing their social games. My parents always pushed me towards certain women from good families who would enhance their social standing. When I met Sarah, they were initially dismissive. Sarah isn't from a wealthy background. She's a kindergarten teacher, kind and empathetic, with a laugh that could light up a room. But she doesn't fit their mold. She's not a lawyer's daughter or a doctor's daughter. She's just Sarah. And I fell madly in love with her, precisely because she's so genuine and unpretentious. My parents tolerated her, mostly. They'd make passive-aggressive comments like, "Oh, Sarah is so sweet," with a tone that implied sweet was synonymous with simple or unambitious. Or, "It's nice that she's so good with children, it suits her," which felt like a backhanded compliment, subtly reminding me she wasn't a high-powered executive. When we announced our engagement, it was met with a lukewarm reception. My mother immediately started asking about the guest list, making suggestions for people we absolutely had to invite, mostly her friends and business associates, people Sarah and I barely knew. She also began to subtly criticize Sarah's dress choices, the catering, the floral arrangements, basically every decision we made, always couching it in terms of "I just want your day to be perfect, dear." Sarah, being the patient and understanding person she is, tried to navigate it gracefully, but I could see it was wearing her down. I tried to run interference, to shield her from their negativity, but it was like trying to stop a leak with a sieve. The real drama started about 3 months ago. My parents had offered to contribute a substantial sum to the wedding, which, while generous, also came with strings attached. They felt their financial contribution gave them carte blanche to dictate every aspect of the wedding. We pushed back on some things, particularly when my mother tried to force us to invite her entire bridge club and insist on a specific, outrageously expensive band that played music neither Sarah nor I enjoyed. It led to some tense arguments, with my mother often resorting to emotional blackmail, saying things like, "After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us." During one particularly heated phone call, I finally lost my temper and told them that if they couldn't respect our wishes, then we didn't need their money. I told them we would pay for the wedding ourselves, which, while a financial stretch, felt like a necessary step for our sanity. They were furious. My mother dramatically declared that I was ungrateful and throwing away their generosity. My father, usually the quieter enabler, chimed in with, "You'll regret this, son. You're making a big mistake." I thought that would be the end of it, that they would huff and puff and eventually come around. I was so wrong. A few weeks later, Sarah started acting distant. She was quieter than usual, her bright smile replaced by a worried frown. She'd occasionally glance at me with an unreadable expression, a mix of pity and sadness. I asked her what was wrong countless times, but she'd just shake her head and say, "Nothing, I'm just stressed about the wedding." I knew it was more than that. I could feel a wall slowly building between us. One evening, after another particularly quiet dinner, I pressed her again. Sarah, please. You're not yourself. What's going on? Has something happened with your family? With work? She looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears, and then she broke down. She told me that my mother had called her, ostensibly to apologize for the wedding argument. But the conversation quickly veered into a dark and disturbing territory. My mother, in a calm, almost sympathetic voice, had told Sarah that she was so worried about my future with her. She then proceeded to explain that I had a medical condition that prevented me from having children. She told Sarah that I was impotent, that I had been diagnosed years ago, and that it was the real reason I had never settled down before. She even went as far as to suggest that I had been hiding it from Sarah, fearing she would leave me. My mother framed it as a confession from a concerned parent, trying to protect Sarah from future heartbreak. That I was stunned. Not just angry, but truly, utterly speechless. Impotent. I had never had any such issues. Sarah and I had discussed having children, and we were both excited about starting a family someday. This was a complete fabrication, a disgusting lie designed to drive a wedge between us, to destroy our relationship. Sarah, to her credit, had been skeptical. She knew my parents were manipulative, and she also knew me. But the seed of doubt had been planted. My mother had been incredibly convincing, detailing symptoms and doctor's visits that never occurred. Sarah, trying to process this bombshell, had come to me, hesitant and unsure how to bring it up. She was scared she would hurt me, or that it was true and she would lose the future she envisioned with me. The reason she hadn't brought it up immediately was because she was processing the devastating information and what it meant for our future children. She was truly distraught and worried for what this meant for us. She was torn and wanted to approach me at the right time. The moment she finished speaking, a cold rage settled over me. It was a kind of anger I had never felt before, a quiet, simmering fury that eclipsed everything else. I immediately called my mother. She answered, her voice saccharine sweet. "Darling, is everything all right?" "Don't darling me," I said, my voice dangerously low. "What did you tell Sarah?" There was a beat of silence. Then, her tone shifted. "Oh, that. Well, I was just trying to be helpful, dear. She deserves to know the truth before she commits to a lifetime of disappointment." "The truth?" I exploded. "What truth? You fabricated a medical condition. You told my fiancé I'm impotent. What in God's name is wrong with you?" My mother, predictably, feigned innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about. I merely expressed my concerns. You've always been so private about your health. I simply assumed." I cut her off. "Don't you dare try to lie your way out of this. You explicitly told her I was diagnosed with impotence. You gave her details, made up entire scenarios. Do you have any idea the damage you've caused?" My father then got on the line, his voice stern. "Now, son, calm down. Your mother was just looking out for your best interests. This Sarah, she's not right for you. You need someone with a good family, someone who can give you the legacy you deserve." "Legacy?" I scoffed. "You think destroying my relationship with the woman I love is building a legacy? You think lying and manipulating is acceptable behavior? It's for your own good," my mother shrieked, finally dropping the facade. "We don't want you making a mistake. You're too good for her. She's just after your money, your potential. She's not serious about having children with you. If she thinks there's a problem with you, she'll run for the hills. We only told her because we assumed she would leave you, and then you'd be free to find someone better, someone who could give us grandchildren." That was it. That was the moment the last thread connecting me to them snapped. It wasn't about protecting me. It was about controlling me, about dictating my life choices, and about their twisted desire for a certain kind of grandchild from a certain kind of daughter-in-law. "You are cut off," I said, my voice trembling with suppressed emotion. "Completely. Do not contact me again. Do not contact Sarah. If you do, I will get a restraining order. You are no longer my parents." I hung up, my hand shaking. Sarah was watching me, tears still streaming down her face. I went to her, wrapped her in my arms, and held her tight. "I am so sorry," I whispered. I had no idea they were capable of something so vile. We spent the next few days talking, processing, and trying to heal. Sarah, despite the initial shock and pain, understood that I was as much a victim of my parents' manipulation as she was. She saw my anger, my hurt, and she knew my love for her was unwavering. We decided to go ahead with the wedding, but with new boundaries. My parents would not be invited. Not only that, we cancelled their invitations to every single one of my relatives on their side of the family. Only family on my paternal grandmother's side would be invited. We also decided to get an independent lawyer to make sure they couldn't interfere in any other way. Now, here's where things get interesting. And, admittedly, a little bit vindictive on my part. My parents, as I mentioned, were very image conscious. Their entire lives revolved around their reputation, their social standing, and their carefully curated facade of success. What they didn't realize, or perhaps chose to ignore, was that their finances were far less stable than they let on. They lived a lavish lifestyle, always buying the latest cars, renovating their expensive house, taking extravagant vacations, all on credit and a dwindling trust fund that my paternal grandfather had set up for them. My grandfather, a shrewd businessman, had made very specific stipulations in his will regarding that trust. It was designed to provide a comfortable income, but it had strict clauses about moral conduct and family unity. He had a strong belief in family, and any actions that intentionally caused significant discord or harm within the family could lead to a review and potential revocation of the trust. A few weeks after my confrontation with my parents, I received a call from my paternal grandmother. She had always been a quiet, observant woman, not one for drama, but fiercely loyal to her family. She had heard whispers, of course, about the arguments, about my parents' treatment of Sarah, and now, about the impotence lie. Sarah, bless her heart, had confided in my grandmother about the whole ordeal, because she was also shocked about it all. My grandmother was, to put it mildly, appalled. She had always adored my grandfather, and his will was sacred to her. "Your grandfather," she said, her voice unusually firm, "would be turning in his grave if he knew what those two were doing. He built this family on honesty and integrity. And what they did to you and Sarah, it's unforgivable." She then dropped a bombshell. She informed me that she had contacted the trustee of my grandfather's will. She had presented them with evidence, including Sarah's testimony and a recorded phone call. Sarah, anticipating further manipulation, had started recording calls from my mother after the first apology call. The trustee, after reviewing the evidence, determined that my parents had violated the moral conduct clause of the will. Their actions, particularly the malicious defamation and attempt to sabotage my marriage, were deemed a clear and egregious breach of the trust's terms. The consequence? The trust fund, which was their primary source of income for their extravagant lifestyle, was revoked completely. And, to add insult to injury, their house, which was technically owned by the trust and leased back to them for a nominal fee, a loophole my grandfather had put in place to ensure they always had a roof over their heads, but only if they behaved themselves, was now to be sold. My parents, who had always lived far beyond their means, suddenly found themselves with no income and no home. The fallout was spectacular. They called me, screaming, begging, threatening. My mother accused me of ruining their lives and betraying my family. My father, for once, sounded genuinely terrified. They demanded I intervene, that I talk to my grandmother, that I get the trustee to reverse the decision. I refused. Coldly, unequivocally, I told them, "You made your bed. Now lie in it. You chose to try and destroy my happiness, and now you're facing the consequences of your actions." They called Emily, my sister, who, to her credit, was also horrified by their behavior. Emily has always been somewhat under their thumb, but even she saw the monstrousness of what they had done. She tried to reason with them, but they just lashed out at her, blaming her for not supporting them. She eventually sided with me, expressing her disgust and telling them she needed space. My sister and I have actually grown closer through all of this, finally seeing eye to eye on our parents' toxic behavior. My parents are now effectively homeless and penniless. They had no savings, no other investments. Their entire financial world revolved around that trust. They've been forced to sell off most of their possessions to cover immediate expenses, and they're currently staying with distant relatives, who, from what I hear, are not exactly thrilled to have them. Their social circle has completely abandoned them. The news of their financial ruin, coupled with the scandalous details of their attempt to sabotage my wedding, spread like wildfire. Their carefully constructed facade has crumbled, revealing the ugly truth beneath. I know what some of you might be thinking. That's harsh. They're your parents. And believe me, there's a part of me that feels a pang of something akin to pity, or perhaps just a deep sadness for what could have been. But then I remember Sarah's tear-streaked face, the pain in her eyes, the sheer malice of their lie, and the pity evaporates. They didn't just hurt me. They tried to destroy my future, my happiness, my relationship with the woman I love. They tried to invalidate my existence, to control my choices, to make me conform to their twisted ideals. And for what? Because Sarah wasn't good enough for their outdated, classist standards? Because I dared to defy them? I'm not actively celebrating their downfall, but I'm certainly not going to help them. This isn't revenge. It's simply the natural consequence of their actions. They played a dangerous game, and they lost everything. Sarah and I are slowly putting the pieces back together. We are still getting married, and it's going to be exactly what we want, free from their toxic influence. We found a new sense of peace and strength in each other, knowing that we faced a monumental challenge and came out of it stronger, together. But the emotional scars are still there. The realization that my own parents were capable of such calculated cruelty is something I don't think I'll ever fully recover from. I'm going to therapy, and Sarah is too. We are working through it, trying to heal from the trauma of it all. I guess I'm posting this here because I need to know if I'm crazy for feeling this way. Am I wrong for not feeling more sympathy for them? Am I wrong for letting them face the consequences of their actions, even if it means they're homeless? Or is this just karma, finally catching up to two people who spent their lives trying to manipulate and control everyone around them? I just need some outside perspective on this whole insane situation. Thank you for reading this lengthy rant. I know it's a lot.